Good evening, everyone. How are you? Confirm that you can hear me. If you can hear me. Oh, I should go back to the comments. Hello, everyone. Perfect. Okay, good. Good. I'm a little out of sorts. I've been in a retailer class since 9 a.m. this morning. I went from 9 to 5. I quickly ran and got something to eat, and now I'm here. So it's been a crazy day, but it's all good. And I just remembered, let me grab my Catherine Pooler inks. I think that's all I needed. How's everyone doing out there? How are you? Yes, it has been a long day, but I've been doing lots of learning. I'm very excited. Yes. Very excited. Learning lots of things. I thought I brought home some oxides with me, but I believe I might have forgotten my oxides. But that's okay. That is okay. I can't share anything yet. Actually, I probably could. This was a couple of cards I did with spellbinders. Ooh, here, let's just do that. Oh, that's much better. So a couple of cards with spellbinders. Really cool. Did some hot foiling. Yeah, it was coming out really well. Yeah, there we go. So one whole day today. I have another whole day tomorrow. So it's very exciting. Very exciting things for sure. Okay, so tonight we are going to be talking about stencils. And that light is very bright. It's making me look very washed out, actually. Okay, sorry. I'm reading comments. Okay. Yeah, it's been, for those of you who are in Maker Mania, we've been going since Friday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 long days. I've had another long day again with the Crafters Home group, where most of us are in this retailer class today and tomorrow. So it has been, we're all feeling kind of a little, but it's good. It's all good. So tonight, I'm talking, thank you, Jackie. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too. It was probably my favorite to date. And that says something. Oh, good. I'm so glad you like Maker Mania. Yeah, we're getting tons of great comments about Maker Mania. So it was fabulous. Probably my favorite. And I didn't think it could get any better than a 49 in Market. But I think 49 in Market was easy to create with. This one was a little bit more, I think, challenging. But I think that's what also made it better. Seriously, I think that is what made it better. And we ended up with 136 finished projects shared. So, I mean, that's crazy. Maker Mania 4, I think we ended with 123. So, yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And all 18 stores are returning for Maker Mania 6. And there might be a few more stores joining us. So, yay, exciting. Okay. Yeah, it's always good. Okay, perfect. Let's get started because I am fading fast. So stencils. Here, let me, no, let me talk to the camera. Stencils. Why do I love stencils? Because I get people who ask me, why do you like stencils so much? I have liked stencils forever. For as long as I can remember, I've loved stencils. Even as a child, I remember, you could get those really cheap stencils. Um, I would trace them and color them in. And I actually forgot about that until I think my mom reminded me. So I have loved stencils forever, forever and ever and ever and ever. I just find them so versatile. You can use them with so many different mediums. You can use them with inks and sprays and texture pastes and paint, like all of the things. You can, whatever, you can trace them, then you can doodle them in. That's a new one for me, the doodling. But yeah, tracing, filling them in. I mean, it's endless. It really is. And when you're spending money on a stencil, it's not a one and done. You can use that stencil as long as you take care of it. You can use stencils for a long time. Like I have stencils that I couldn't even tell you how old they are. So I love stencils, and I love them because I not only can I use one stencil on its own, but I can use it layering with another stencil. Which brings me to layering stencils, which is my new passion. And I actually did, actually I'll show you another card I made today with a layering stencil. I don't use many of the pink fresh layering stencils, but this is not a new one. We've had this one before, or I think we actually still have it. This is a layering stencil from Pink Fresh, and this is 5 pieces. This is 5 layering stencils. So I created this in this class, and that is using Distress inks. I didn't use oxides. I used Distress inks, and it is just, yes, the Tupperware stencils. My kids had those too. I probably played with them more than my kids did, in all honesty. But yeah, this is a card I created today in a Pink Fresh class I was taking. And not normally a stencil I would use, but after I did it and I looked at it, and don't look too closely because my lining up wasn't great. I was rushing. It was a very fast class. But I thought, that's actually pretty cool. I actually really like that. So, and I'm pretty sure we still have this one. This is the Folk Art Slimline from Pink Fresh. Now, a lot of the Pink Fresh collections come as a stamp, stencil, die, hot foil plate. So you can get all of the layers. This is just the stencil. There's no stamping. There's no die. It is just a stencil. And we also have another sample in the store, which was done by Tammy. I believe she did it in the last Crop and Create event she did. And it was also using a slimline stencil from Pink Fresh. And there was no stamping. There is a stamp for it, but it's just stenciling. And I think it looks amazing. Yeah, very folk arty. Anyhow, yeah. So, okay, first I wanted to start with storage. How do I store all my stencils? I use Totally Tiffany. All of my smaller stencils, all of my 8x8 and smaller stencils, I have a paper file. So that's what this is. I like it. It closes. All of my stencils are in there. I would like to say that they're organized, but they're not, because I use them and I just put them back in. I organize them about once a year and they stay like that for about 3 days. I also like these because these are called fab files, sorry. They also have a handle. So all my 8x8 and smaller stencils go in this. And then I also have a paper handler for all my larger stencils. So this is a paper handler, and it's got all my, like the 9x10 and up to the 12x12 stencils in here. So I brought all these home because I thought, I'll grab out some of my older ones. I also have some of the newer ones, like the one I used today. I also have a new Jofi one. And I'm also going to talk about ink blending because I do a lot of ink blending with stencils. And I know some of you, you've told me that you struggle with your ink blending. Now, I personally find ink blending with distress oxides the easiest, and I get the most satisfying results using the oxides. And the reason why is that because the oxide ink pads are a hybrid ink. I actually have one oxide pad here. So the oxides are a hybrid ink. And what I mean by that is it is a dye pigment hybrid. So it's a dye ink, but it also has pigment in it. And that's what gives it the blendability, the creaminess. But that's what also gives it the chalky finish. So I love it just because of the blendability. Love it so much. I know a lot of people don't like the oxides because you get that softer chalky look, where with the oxides or with the regular inks, hang on. I don't know what I did with that card. I was just showing you. My craft room's not that big. I don't know how I'm losing stuff. The one I showed you, the one that I did today, that was using distress ink. So you see that you get a much brighter look to it, where with the oxides you get more of a chalky finish. You can combine them. I combine the inks all the time, and since I have one oxide with me, maybe I'll do that tonight. So if you're new to ink blending, I suggest oxides because they're the easiest, they're the fastest, and you get the most satisfying results. You kind of get that seamless blend. But I know a lot of you have already invested in distress inks and you're just not interested in starting a new collection. And I understand that. I'm going to switch to my overhead cam and we're going to talk about blending with regular distress inks, just distress inks. So give me a moment to, yeah, there we go. Perfect. You can see me. Okay, so regular distress inks. I've got regular distress inks, and I also have with me my Catherine Pooler. So I'm going to do some blending with both of these so you can see the difference. So let me grab, let's sort of get kind of the same. Actually, I don't like that crackling campfire. Let's do this one. Okay, regular distress inks. These are regular distress inks. I know you see me blend with oxides a lot, so let's switch it up. Let's go with regular distress inks. This is the Vicki Boutin Foundations Paper 140. I also suggest you need to look for a smooth cardstock. So the Hammer Mill, we sell the Hammer Mill 80 pound. We also sell the Hammer Mill 100 pound. Those are excellent. They're very smooth. I actually forgot to bring some home with me. I was going to use that. So I am using the Vicki Boutin's foundation paper. This is the one I usually save for when I'm using lots of wet media because it's 140 pound and it lasts a long time. Now, regarding brushes, I see people asking about brushes. Do I have separate brushes for the different types of ink? I do not. I have a lot of brushes. I started off with the Picket Fence, the best ever blending brush. Hi, Ellie. The best ever blending brushes. This was my first set, and I love them. How does Vicki Boutin's work with watercolor? They work beautifully with watercolor paints. I just did, I did a class with Hero Arts today, and they work absolutely beautifully. Yeah. I do tape them down. When I'm doing a lot of watercoloring, I will tape it down to my surface. Yeah. So this was my original. Love them. Use them all the time. Now, we got in different ones. Like right now, we've got the Catherine Pooler, which I have here with me at home. At the store, I also have the Gina K. We also sell the Nouveau, which I have not tried. We have the Tailored Expressions, which I've tried. Those are absolutely lovely. And Honeybee. We also have the Honeybee. I haven't used the Honeybee. Yeah, thanks, Tina. Thanks for dropping in. Yeah, watch on the replay. So the difference between, now, like I said, these are was my first favorite. The bristles on these are very tight, very compact. The bristles on the Gina K and the Catherine Pooler are very similar. They're a little bit looser in the brush head, which I really like. Yeah, Mari is saying the Honeybee brushes are amazing. I have not used them personally, but I've looked at them and they look very similar to these. So right now, my go-to brushes are Gina K and Catherine Pooler. Those are the ones I go to the most. Those are my favorite, and I love them. We also carry for organization the Makeup by Marco brush storage. So this one's called the bathtub. I've got it in black. It holds 2, 4, 6, 10 brushes. I have not washed these in a little while. So that is why I put my brush buddies on them. So this one tells me that this one's only supposed to be used with yellow. If I'm going in between types of brushes, I will take a piece of paper towel and I will brush off as much ink as possible, but I usually wash my brushes about 2 or 3 times a week. And how do I wash them? Well, we sell brush cleaners at the store. They're little palm size. I put a little bit of hand soap on them and then brush this into the bristles, gets nice and foamy, and then I rinse it under warm water until the water runs clear and they come up really, really nice. So I usually wash them about once a week, unless they're super dirty or I'm teaching multiple classes. Okay. Yes, I love the Vicky Bouton paper. Love it. Can't say enough about it. Okay, so you've seen me blend with Distress Oxides. Let's talk about Distress Inks. Distress Inks. These are just dye inks. That's all they are. Just a dye ink. Which one am I going to use? I'm going to use this one because that is the one I used earlier today with these same colors of ink. Can I just say, let's just touch on the fact about the color of Saltwater Taffy, which I think is going to make a wonderful addition to a sunset blend. Can't wait to get my hands on those. I am just so excited. Oops. Okay, how do you blend? There are many types of people who hold their blender brush different. Some hold it back here. I will hold it back here. This is the shaft of the brush. I'll hold it back further if I just want a nice light. If I just want a nice light blend. If I just want just a touch of yellow, I'm going to hold it back here and just barely put enough pressure on there. You can see you can hardly see the color on there. I am a heavy-handed blender, so I hold my brush like this. That's how I hold it. That's how I find it most comfortable. So I'll pick up my ink off of my blender brush or off my ink pad, and then I will come and I will just start blending. Now, people always say, well, you always get such beautiful blends. How do you do that? The key is layers. I always say your first layer of ink on your paper is kind of like your primer. That's just kind of like just laying down the first one. That's just kind of like your primer. You're just getting started. Okay. So you do that once. I'm going to flip over here. I'm going to pick up some dried marigold. I'm not going to blend my colors together yet. And my dried marigold might need a re-inking. I re-inked all of these not too long ago, but apparently it needs a little bit more. Okay, so whenever I'm blending colors, whenever I put them on, I never blend them together right away. I always leave them separate because what I want to do is I want to get the colors on And then I want to bring them together. How long does an ink pad last? These are my original distress inks. So whenever he started coming out with these, this says 2004 on it. This one must be one of the originals. Yeah. I started collecting these as soon as he started releasing them. Oh, Pat, I am not jealous at all. No, not jealous at all. Okay. So dried marigold, I am going to pick another brush. I don't want to mix my yellow and my red, which is what I usually do, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to pick up this one, which is Fired Brick. Yeah, your ink pads can last you a long time as long as you take care of them and re-ink them and don't let them dry out completely. You can use a product called Distress Refresher. Yeah, you can use a Distress Refresher and it will revive the ink pad. The only one I've ever had to re-ink is my black soot because I used it so much. I had to replace the entire ink pad because there was no smoosh left in the ink pad. It was just completely hard. All right, so once I get all three colors down, I'm going to go back in and I'm just going to start expanding. So I'm going to go between my dried marigold and I'm going to put on my fired brick. I'm going to come back in, more dried marigold, more fired brick. Just give me a moment. I'm just going to lower this a little bit. How do you re-ink your ink pads? Well, you have to use a re-inker, and each company sells their own re-inkers. And then you put drops on the ink pad and you let them soak in. It's really easy. I do my oxides probably once a month, but mine get used a lot. So I always buy the re-inker when I buy the pad. Always, always, always. Now, I do find blending with ink pads like this, just the straight dye ink pads, I find it takes me a little bit longer. I find it faster when I'm doing the oxides because I can get that creamy blend right away. Okay, so now my two colors have met. I'm going to go over top that line with both brushes and try and get a blend. So I have been blending with the oxides for so long and I don't blend with these ones very often. So to me, this is really messy. I don't like it because I get such beautiful blends with the oxides. So I don't like this in particular, but it does take a little bit more work. So you might just have to go over top of your colors just to get a better blend. Okay, now I'm going to start working the other way. I'm going to take my dried marigold. Then I'm going to go back to my squeezed lemonade. Okay. Yes, I definitely like the oxides. I do a lot of demos with the oxides, so I thought this time, let's just do regular dye inks because I do hear from a lot of people that they have the dye inks and they don't want to invest in a whole new series of inks, which I understand. But I also tell people if you've got a favorite color in your distress inks, just buy that one in the oxide. Okay, we're getting there. This is starting to come together now. Okay. Starting to come together. Okay, so those are those three colors ink. Don't worry, we're going to get to the stenciling because I'm going to do some backgrounds and then we're going to stencil over top of these. Oh, there we go. So there's my ink blend with the oxides, which is fine. It's fine. Yeah, they are awesome for blending. Don't get me wrong. I love them so much. Okay, so that's an oxide blend. Now, some of you have the Catherine Pooler. So let me show you the Catherine Pooler blends. Grab this. I am going to get three new clean ones because I don't want to contaminate these inks with the oxide or with my ink pads, distress ink pads. Okay, so these are a little bit different. So these are a bit like a foamy sponge. But I really like them because they hold a lot of ink. I never have to re-ink my Catherine Poolers as much as I have to re-ink my oxide or as my dye inks. I don't know why, but they don't seem to dry out as fast. I don't know if that's just in my head, but it is something I have noticed. Okay, so we're going in with limoncello. Next, we're going to do Samba. Oops. Nope. I don't want to do that one. I want to do Mandarin Spice next. Oh, that was close. Okay, Mandarin Spice. So again, this is a dye ink pad, which is exactly what the distress ink pads are. They're both dye inks, meaning they're both water reactive. There we go. Now we're going to do Samba. Ooh, that's a great color. Okay. So second layer, you can see it's getting a bit darker. Okay, let me come back here to Mandarin Spice again. Perfect, and let's do limoncello. Now you might be thinking, this seems to be blending a lot faster than the distress inks. Yeah, it might be. I also think my Catherine Pooler ones are a little bit juicier than my distress inks, so that could also be playing into a factor. Is there a way to get rid of hot spots? Like you mean like something like that? Just keep blending. That's really all I do is I keep blending until I pretty much blend that ink out or incorporate it into the blend. Or stamp over top of it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, my big suggestion when ink blending is you have to blend. You're not going to get it on the first go round. I usually blend over my colors at least 2 or 3 times until I'm satisfied with it. Oops. I think I'm done with Samba right now. We do one more go around with Mandarin. And you do want to be blending wet into wet ink. So don't dry them in between. You do want the ink to stay wet. That is also what helps you get a better blend. Okay, so that's it for Mandarin Spice. And one more go round with limoncello. Okay, so there's my blend with Catherine Pooler. That is the Catherine Pooler blend. So very similar. I chose colors the same so you could kind of see the difference. So this is Catherine Pooler here. This is Distress Inks here. Okay, let me just set that down. Let me just organize my brushes before I get them all mixed up. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now we've got two brush blended backgrounds. Oh my goodness. Catherine Pooler inks are very vibrant. Her colors are absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, very vibrant inks. Yeah, definitely. These more vibrant than the oxides. These more vibrant than the regular distress inks. Yeah, they are. It's very true. Okay, so let's talk about blending over stencils. I'm just going to grab a stencil out, and I'm just grabbing one. It might be one that we don't have in the store any longer. I'm sorry about that. I'm just grabbing. Okay. So other inks that are blendable, or I shouldn't say are not blendable. Anything as a dye ink, any dye ink blends really beautifully. Any dye ink. Oxides blend beautifully. I use archival ink black to do my edges or to add a black edge to a stencil. And I actually have one blender brush strictly for archival inks. You can see how black that is. I don't even wash that ever. That's just for my archival black or for my Gina K black, because that is a permanent ink. So I have one brush set aside for that. Okay, so I'm just going to grab a stencil. How do you blend through a stencil? And I feel a little lost because I don't have my regular thing that I'm using, but I am using, this is just washi tape. It's an old Tim Holtz washi tape that I have here at home. And before I do that, I am going to take, oops, hang on. I need to clean this up first. Because these inks are water-based, they do clean up and wipe up beautifully. There you go. All clean. And let me grab a piece of paper towel. There we go. Okay, another thing I would normally use is my sticky grid. But again, like I said, I am not prepared. I have not stopped to think about anything except Maker Mania since Friday. So I actually haven't even been back to the store. Okay, I'm just going to put a piece of tape on there just to hold that in place. Just to hold it. Perfect. So now my stencil's not going to move. My piece of paper is not going to move. I am going to come. This is my Catherine Pooler. These are my Catherine Pooler. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take two distress inks and put them over top of my Catherine Pooler. Can I do that? Absolutely. You can combine inks. I tell people all the time, don't worry, you can combine inks. They're not going to explode. I'm going to go in with this one, just gently over top of my stencil. Okay, now I'm going to come down here with my Abandoned Coral. I am holding my stencil with one hand. I don't want it to shift too much. Could I use pixie spray? Yeah, I could. But I only use it on certain stencils because I don't like to clean pixie spray off of every single stencil. I only use it on certain ones where I need it. So you're probably looking at that going, what happened? I don't even know. Like did she do anything? It doesn't look any different. Well, wait for the reveal. There you go. Absolutely. Look at that. That is gorgeous. I am loving that. Right? It's gorgeous. Ooh. So inks over inks. Absolutely. So that was Catherine Pooler over. No, sorry. That was Distress Inks over Catherine Pooler. Now, I wasn't thinking I shouldn't have moved that yet. Okay. So what I'm going to do a cool technique with stencils. Or let me tell you, if I want to add like let's just save myself a headache here. There we go. Line that back up. Line it back up. I am going to take a piece of, I just want to wipe away some of that excess ink because I'm going to come in with another color now. I want to frame this a little bit. So you can take another color of ink. Let's go bold. Let's do Chip Sapphire. I'm going to pick up a bit of ink. I'm going to start here in the middle, and I'm just going to go slowly outwards. Just around in a circle. I'm not going to re-ink it. I'm just going to let that ink just kind of get used up off of my brush. So just let it fade out. Just going to let it fade out. Now, if I wanted to add a frame look to it, I can go over with my stencil and just do the edges. Okay, so let's just do a quick around the edge. I don't want to make it black. I don't want to make it too dark. I still want to be able to see some of those colors underneath. So these dye ink pads also differ from the oxide because these are very translucent because they're just the dye ink. The oxides, because they have the pigment in it, are a bit more opaque. So again, depending on the look you're going for, will depend on the ink that you use. Okay, you ready? Big reveal. Let's see what we've got. Oh, look at that. That is fantastic. Sometimes I even surprise myself. Okay, so again, what did I do? I did my base layer of blending, 3 colors of Catherine Pooler. 3 colors of Catherine Pooler. Looked great. Loved it. But if there was any blemishes under there, any hot spots or whatever anyone's calling, you can stencil over top of it and it's like they didn't exist. Your eye is not going to see any of those mistakes or any of those imperfections of your blend underneath. All your eye is drawn to is this mandala shape that you've done on top. So I put the stencil down over top. I took 2 colors of Distress ink, very similar in shades, did a top and a bottom. I split it top and bottom. And then I came back with a completely different color, completely opposite side of the color wheel, Chip Sapphire, which is a blue. But remember what I said, these colors are translucent. So this Chip Sapphire is picking up the colors underneath it. So it doesn't actually look blue. In some areas, it looks purple. In some areas, it looks almost black or dark gray. So that is the difference between the translucent dye inks and the oxides. Oxides are more opaque, right? Oh, I'm loving that. That is actually very cool. Oh, sometimes I surprise myself. Okay, I'm going to set that aside because that is a lot of ink on it. It's going to need some time to completely dry. Let me just clean up this stencil again. Oops. Let's move on to a different stencil. I want to show you how to layer stencils. I did mention that there are layering stencils, which are meant to be layered together, but you can take other stencils and layer them. So let me grab this one. Let's go back to our other background that we blended. Give me a moment to find. There was, here we go. So this is, oh geez, I don't even know. This might be one of my older ones. So this is, I want to say, a dilution stencil. It might be a Dina stencil. This one has been loved. It has been loved hard for many years. I'm going to put a piece of tape on that. So when I layer my stencils, my first one that I put down, I usually find something with big open spaces. So like a big flower would be good. This one with the circles, also really good. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my tape, and like I said, this is just regular washi tape. I normally would use the Best Ever Craft tape from Spellbinders, but I don't have it on me. It's not readily available, so I'm just going to use washi tape. I'm not a big washi tape fan, so I usually use it for this. I know for you washi tape people, you must be freaking out. Okay, here we go. One stencil, lots of open spaces. Okay, I am going to take an ink. Let's choose. Oh man, I don't even know. No, that's way too dark. I don't want to do that. Let's do, no. I am so full of indecision right now. Okay, let's do Festive Berries. Okay, Festive Berries. I'm going to go over my stencil with this color. Okay, we're going to leave this stencil, then I'm going to come in with another stencil, and we're going to stencil over top of this one. So give me a second to choose my weapon here. Okay, so Festive Berries. So if you have a stencil with big open spaces, this is a good one to do. Okay. Oh, I can tell I just re-inked this one. This one's super juicy. Oh, shoot. Make sure your paper is stuck down. Hang on. Okay, perfect. Not perfect. Close enough. Okay. Back to Festive Berries. Hang on to your paper, Julia. I have a tool at the store, my Totally Tiffany rotating design board that I normally use, but I leave it at the store because we do so many demos with it. So I miss it when I'm at home. Okay, so I'm going over my stencil just in these open spaces. Now remember, I'm only doing this with the ink, but you can also use stencils with paints, sprays, texture paste. We're just focusing on the inks tonight. Just the inks. Okay, there we go. Festive Berries over top of that original one. Let me grab another stencil. Let's choose something that is not circles. Let's go with something completely different. Okay, here's this one. So I'm going to use this stencil over top. And remember, we're not moving that other one. We're going to layer this one over top. I have to make a list. Things not to forget for Monday Night Live. Spellbinders Best Ever tape. Okay. Give me 1 second to get one more piece. You lovers of washi tape must be freaking out that I'm using this. I've got a lot of washi tape. I don't know why you ever started collecting washi tape. I don't think I've ever used any of it. Okay, so let me choose another color. Let's go back. Let's go back into our blues. This time I'm going to choose Stormy Sky. Let's use Stormy Sky. I'm going to grab a brush. Okay. Now this is one that I've used Pixie Spray on before. What I'm going to try and do is only ink on one side of the circle. Probably should be using a smaller brush, but I'm going to try my best. I'm just going to try and ink only on one side of each circle. We'll see what this looks like. Now, I know a lot of people, I hear a lot of people say, oh, I've got stencils, but I don't use them. Oh my goodness, girlfriend, what are you waiting for? Get them out, get those out and use them. They're so much fun. Okay. Now I am going to try and carefully peel this off. Okay. Ignore my little boo-boo there when it moved, but there you go. That is a stencil over top of a stencil. Right? Isn't that cool? Stencil over a stencil. Now, what I would do, because I love the doodling, is I would dry this really well, and then I would come in with my micron, and I would do some loose doodling around these circles. But that is a stencil over a stencil. How cool would that be for a background, right? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I love it so much. Love it. Ooh, okay, gonna set that one aside. Let me start with just a plain piece of paper. For those of you who are watching Maker Mania, you can tell these are my extras that I didn't use because I have 5x5 written on them. Okay, wiping up that ink. Let's take this, put that down there. How's everyone doing? Just enjoying the process. I'm going to lower this just a smidge more. I feel like it's still way too high. And crooked. There we go. Okay, so stencils. Love them to bits. Now, let me go back. Actually, let's do this layering stencil. I want to show you. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to touch on. What is the difference between a stencil and a mask? I believe I have a mask here. Hang on. I believe I do. A stencil and a mask. Oh, here's a good one. What is the difference between a stencil and a mask? So Diane Reevely, Dilutions, is known for her stencil mask combos. Dina Wakely also has them. I don't believe I have any of hers, but those would be what I consider. Oh, here's a good one. Okay. Stencil and a mask. Oh, now this is an old one. I think I got this when I took a class with Diane. So this would be the stencil. This would be the stencil. And that would be the mask. Okay, so this is the stencil. This is the mask. What can you do with stencil and masks? I'm so glad you asked me. I don't remember what I was going to do. I was going to do the layering stencil. Let's do this one first, though. Now, just to confuse these, some companies call their stencils masks. I don't know why they do that, but some companies do that. It's kind of annoying. But this is a stencil mask combo. This is the stencil. This is the mask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stencil this girl first. Let's do this. Grab a blue. This is Mermaid Lagoon. I'm only going to stencil just the outer. I'm not going to stencil the whole thing. I'm just going to stencil the edge. Now, I also want people to know, well, when can I use stencils? Can I use them on my scrapbooking page? Absolutely. Art journal, of course. Cards, absolutely. Stencils I've used everywhere. All the paper crafts, I have used them. Okay, so there is our stencil. That is the stencil of the little angel girl. Now, if I wanted to add some color around her, I would put the mask on. It is now covering up exactly what I just inked. Let me do a Catherine Pooler yellow. These ones you're going to have to hold just a little bit more carefully because they tend to shift a little bit. Especially the little legs, they're a little spindly. Okay, so if I remove the mask, there you can see what I've created. So the stencil and then the mask. Okay, does that make sense? And now I feel like I've lowered this way too much. There we go. So that is the difference between a stencil and a mask. The stencil is your positive space. Your mask covers up your stencil and gives you the negative. So you can use the outer edge of it. Sorry, my brain stopped working like 3 hours ago. So I'm probably not making any sense. Okay, let me just clean this up. So that is the difference between a stencil and a mask. Okay, so I'm going to come in, because we're talking about layering, because some people have a lot of stencils. Some people have a lot of stencils like me. I am going to shift. Another technique is shifting stencils. A few years ago, Tim Holtz came out with shifter stencils, which meant you would ink them and then you would shift them and you'd ink again and then you'd shift them. And so you ended up with this pattern, this overlapping pattern. He had like plaids and circles and, you know, all of the things, and they worked really well. And I have them, and yes, they do. They're lovely. But did you know you could shift any stencil, which means when you're done, you could take your stencil, place it on, and then what I usually do is I usually move it up and over. Usually all I do is I just move it up and over a smidge. Okay, so you can see that I've exposed some of my girl there. So what I'm going to do, let's go to Mermaid Lagoon, a slightly different blue. Hang on. So just in case you just joined, what am I doing? I ink this with the blue, and then I put my mask on, and then I inked it with an orange or a yellow. I can't remember. Okay, so now I've got that, but I do want to create just another little layer. So I put this stencil back on. I'm going to shift it up. I'm going to shift it over. So we're going to go up and we're going to go over. I'm going to pick up some more ink. I'm just going to do the edge. I'm not going to do everything. I'm just going to come in and do the edge of our little angel girl here. This works really well with alphabet stencils, I found. I like doing it with alphabet stencils. It also works really well if you're doing this and then you do this layer with stencil paste. That will also give you a really cool look. It works really well with sentiments through stencils. Okay. So it ends up giving them just a smidge of dimension. Okay, so can you see that? It just gives them just a slight bit of dimension so it doesn't look quite as flat. So that is shifting a stencil. And you can do that with most stencils. You'll know it if you put it down and you shift it and you're like, no, that's going to look really weird. You'll know. But I've done it. I think there's only been 1 or 2 stencils where I've done that with, and I'm like, no, I don't like it. Shifting stencils. Hi, Christy. How are you? Okay, here is another stencil mask. Dina Wakely is also known for hers. This isn't my favorite because it's a bit fiddly, but when you use it, it actually looks really cool. I've left this one taped in here because it gets really kind of messed up if I don't leave it taped. There we go. So this would be, that would be the mask. And this would be the stencil. So if you, just showing you that you can really layer anything. If I put this back on, and then if I put this over top, actually, you know what? That's not gonna, this shifts too much. If I had a spray, I would totally do that. But these ones are kind of a pain in the butt because they do move. So this would work really well with the spray. I'll just add a little bit down here on her dress portion. And you can kind of see it. Just a little bit. There you go. Okay, so that is the difference between a stencil and a mask. Now, these ones I always store in sleeves. I always store them in a sleeve because if you don't, it is going to get ruined or lost. So I always store them in these Avery L extra large pockets. There we go. Moving my stencils aside. Okay, layering stencils. Let's talk about layering stencils. So this is what I have. I'm just going to see if I've got another one. I thought I had another Pink Fresh one, but that might be at the store. Nope, I have one here. Okay, so let me do this one. So if you've seen the Pink Fresh layering stencils, they are gorgeous. They really are the most magnificent things. And they are anywhere from 3 to 5. I think I've even seen one where it's 6 stencils. Now you're probably thinking, how do you keep them all straight? How do you know what to use? Well, they are etched, which means up here in the corner, you can't see them, but it says stencil 4. They are etched, and they also have the etchings in the corner. So if you're doing an A2, these etchings in the corners are what you would use to line up in your corners every single time. Okay, so let me go through 4, 5. Oops, where are we here? 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so these are what the stencils are. Let me show you how they work, and I absolutely love them. I believe this one came with a coordinating stamp set. I don't have that here. I don't even know if I bought it. I think I just used it as the stencil. But Pink Fresh has a lot of these layering stencils, and they're absolutely gorgeous. Every single one. There has never been one that I haven't liked. Okay, so I'm just going to take my paper. I'm going to tape the whole thing down because when I'm using a layering stencil, I don't want it to move. Now, this one also has a die, which I do happen to have. So there is a coordinating die for this one. So depending on how this looks like, I may die cut it out for you. Okay, stencil 1. Now, you're not going to be able to see it, but the bottom of the etching, I don't know if you can see the etching right there in the corner. Those are your lineup guides. They are guides to help line up. So the etchings in each 4 corners, that is the size of an A2. Obviously, this is not an A2, but I am going to use the bottom portion of that guide to line it up at the bottom, and I'm also going to use it to line it up on the side. That is how I'm going to line up each of my stencils. So this is stencil 1. So this is the base layer of our rose. So I'm going to use a light pink. It's going to be my first one. Does that have, that does have some purple on it. Just going to take my brush and I'm just going to brush off as much of that ink as possible. Perfect. I'm going to go in here with my spun sugar. Just going to gently apply that first layer. Don't worry about it being perfect because this is only your first layer. The flowers of this, I believe, have 3 layers to them. Okay, so this is layer 1. Layer 1. We're going to go to layer 2. Let's try Kitsch Flamingo. So I'm going to lift this up. Going to go to stencil 2. I'm going to line those marks up. I'm also going to use that layering. Perfect. Okay, Kitsch Flamingo. Second layer. If you've got stencils and you don't use them, oh, this is one of those stencils, you got to be very careful. Pieces move. Would be good to have some pixie spray on it, but I'm just going to brush it in the direction so my pieces of my stencil don't move. Okay, so that was spun sugar, Kitsch Flamingo. Take that off. And now our detail layer. This is the detail layer of our stencil. Perfect. Let's do picked raspberry. Green. Do I have a green one? I guess this one. Okay, what am I doing green? Not on the leaves yet. Oh my goodness, it has been a long day. Okay, so now I'm going into with my darkest layer. There we go. And there we have our flowers. I'm going to pull that up just so you can see it a little bit closer. Now, before I go in and do the layers for the leaves, I do want to give this a dry because I don't want to smudge those. So I am going to just turn on my dryer. So hang on. Okay, there we go. Now, this is stencil 4. So this one is for our leaves. Lining these up. Perfect. Normally I would stand up and do this, but where my camera is, I can't really stand up. So I'm just going to eyeball it and hope for the best. All right, let's try for our leaves, peel paint and bundled sage. So bundled sage will be number 1. That's our lighter color. I'm using, don't get mad at me, I'm using my purple one. I haven't used it today, so I'm going to use it for my greens because I use blue for my green. I am I just grab. Okay. So again, I'm going to use a light touch because there are a lot of little pieces on these leaves that can shift. So I am using a very light touch. I'm not pressing as hard as I normally would. So I am just using just a light touch. Okay, adding our leaf layer. Here we go. So this is the solid part of the leaf. The next stencil will be adding the details. Okay, so there we go. And next, ooh, I love that. I haven't used this stencil in a long time. I think I demoed it when it first came out, and I don't think I've touched it since. I don't know why, because it really is gorgeous. Okay, lining those up, lining my guide marks, lining it up along that edge, putting my tape down. And now it's time for our detail part of our leaf. There we go. How quick was that? That was so super quick. There we go. Now, remember how I said there's a die for this? Hi, Rosie, how are you? Remember I told you there was a die for this? So what you could do is you could do this 2 times. You do this as your base, and then you do a second one. You die cut it out, and then you use some of those flowers and you pop them up. So let me just show you how absolutely awesome Pink Fresh's coordinating dies are with their stamps. Oops, I better try this first. It is a gorgeous stencil. I agree. Hang on, just going to bring my Platinum 6 in here. This is my Platinum 6 die cut machine, which I have been a Big Shot user for years, and these are actually really smooth. They're really slick. Okay, let me die cut this out. Just going to put my plates in, going to put that down. Let's line up our die. Line it up. I am going to use a smidge of washi because I don't want it to shift. Just going to use just a smidge, just so it doesn't shift on me. Top plate, and let's put that through. Yes, the key is to start with your light colors. Your dark color is going to be your detail layer. You're absolutely right, Christine. Start light for layer 1 and then gradually get darker. Look how beautifully that die cut out. Look at that. Stencil and a die combo. Ready to go. Do you know what? That's probably going to go in my art journal. What is the name of this set? That is a good question. I believe it's called Garden Roses. I'm not even sure it's one we have still, but I used another one today, which I'm going to show you. This one I used in one of my classes, and it's actually a new release from Pink Fresh. Trying to find my sample. This is a new release from Pink Fresh that I just ordered today. It should be here. This is part of their March release. 4. Oops, there's 3. So you can see this one also has words on it, which is really cool. Just a second. I have mine here. And maybe not. I probably put my samples away to take to the store. I'm going to show you this one because this one is actually one of my favorite. So the one I just used was Garden Roses. Again, I don't know if we still have that one. It was just one I had here in my stamp set. This one is actually called Beautiful Day. It is absolutely stunning. This one is coming. I can officially show it to you now because I've done the class. And I'm going to show you a cool technique with this one. So layering stencils are probably my new favorite thing because they are absolutely gorgeous. Now, this has a coordinating die. It has a coordinating stamp. I am not going to use it with the stamp. I did in my sample earlier, but I actually like it without the stamp. We did a no line and then we stamped it again in the black. Not my favorite. Okay, so let me show you this one. And this one does have a die, so it die cuts out. And I wish I could find my sample. There we go. Oh, I did show you this sample. That is this one here. So remember I showed you this one earlier? That is this set that I'm going to show you, this stamp or stencil. So this is the one where we use the black ink. So you can see what that looks like. This is the no line. This is the one you're just using the stencil. So it's actually really cool. I absolutely love it. As soon as I saw this one, I was like, this is going to be my favorite, and it was. So we did it 2 ways. Oops. Yes, I do want that. 2 colors, same stencil. What's the name of this one? It's actually called Beautiful Day, and it is a brand new release. I just ordered it. Today. So Pink Fresh should be shipping it out very soon. It's actually their March release. Yes, I am so excited. So I am just going to ink on the one side of each flower. Just one side, each flower. Okay, now I'm going to take my pink. Yeah, Beautiful Day. And this one will be in store very soon. As soon as I saw it used, I thought, ooh, I'm so excited. Yeah, so this is another Pink Fresh one. Okay. So that's layer 1. This is layer 2, but you can see it's the centers. Yes, it is more like a watercolor effect. Actually, I have one customer who she was buying these stencils without the stamps and the dies. And I was like, I don't understand why you're buying them without the stamps and the dies. And she does these with just the stencils. And then she takes a pen and she doodles around them. She likes the loose color of the doodle, which I absolutely thought was fantastic. Okay, so this is actually stencil 3. I'm going to skip over the centers. We're going to do those last. You could do them now, but They're the centers. We're going to do this one. So let me choose my next two colors. So we've got orange and pink. I am also going to do worn lipstick and spiced marmalade. Worn lipstick, spiced marmalade. Oops, worn lipstick. Okay, so I know my oranges were on this side, so I'm going to keep going. Orange on that side, orange on this side, or yellow, I guess. Yes, all the Pink Fresh stuff is fantastic. I've seen all of the new releases. I am so excited. Actually, all the new releases for May or March and April. Cannot wait. How pretty are those? Oh my goodness, so pretty. So these are your centers, so I'm going to put those in there. I'm just going to use one of my other colors again. I'm not going to choose another one. There we go. Now the leaves. Here we go. Shabby shutters. This will be our light one. There we go. And our last stencil. Oh, right here. Put that over top. This is the detail part of our stencil. So if you have stencils and you've never used them, I just encourage you just to get a couple out. Just play. Just grab your inks, grab your blending tools, get them out and play. Oh yes, the hot foil plates with the stencils. Oh my goodness, don't even get me started. That is a whole other wormhole to fall down. There we go. So that is a layering stencil from Pink Fresh. Oop. There we are. Gorgeous, right? Now there is a coordinating die for this, so I can die cut it out. So it would give you your die cut images like this. This is a hot foil on here. This is the arch. So this one we do have in store right now is the arch. So that we hot foiled. This is the same hot foil plate, but we did it as a dry emboss into cardstock. So the backs are the same, but this one is dry embossed and it goes like that. And then this one is heat, or this one is the foil. I just love Pink Fresh. I mean, it's just amazing. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Can't say enough about it. Okay. So I also like to tell people, I'm almost done. I'm not going to keep you much longer because I'm seriously, I can barely keep my eyes open. Is you don't have to use the entire stencil, especially if you've got, also clean your stencils. If you saw my old Dina Wakley ones with the paint on it, yeah, don't be a Julia. Yeah, just clean your stencils. It's just so much easier to clean them as you go. Trust me. But if you have a stencil with a repeating pattern, a lot of people feel like they need to use the entire pattern. They need to use the entire stencil. And you don't. You really don't need to use the entire stencil. For example, I'm just going to do one more sample just before we go. Here we go. So let me do this one really quick. This is a gorgeous stencil. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely gorgeous stencil. And would I use the entirety of it? I probably would, but I'm going to show you that you don't need to. Say you're doing this on the back of a card and you want to be able to stamp a sentiment in the middle. You don't have to do the middle of the stencil. You can just do parts of it. So yeah, people will look at a stencil and like, oh, it's so busy. And I'll be like, oh, no, but you don't have to use the entire thing. You can just, you can just use like the outer edge of it or just one side of it. And I know some stencils can look very intimidating. I keep going off screen. There I am. Okay, so say you wanted to do this one. And how I'm going to visualize it is right around here, right where those middle petals are. I'm not going to ink there. I'm going to leave that so that I can stamp a sentiment in there. And that will be like the center of my card. So what am I going to do? I am going to grab a brush. I'm going to use the yellows and the oranges. So what I'm going to do is I am going to rotate my colors through. So I've got one color. I'm going to go this color, 2 leaves, and then I'm going to do wild honey, 2 leaves, and then I'm going to come back to this one. So again, you don't have to do the entire stencil. Maybe you just want to do the outer leaves, and that's fine. Don't think that you need to use the entire thing every single time. This would be one of those really great stencils to do tracing. Okay. So you can see there, I didn't use the entire stencil. I've now left that center part. So I can come in, take the tape off. Oops. Put the lids on, back on the right ones. Say I want to stamp a sentiment, or I just want to center that out. I can just doodle a circle. And now I can come in and I can stamp a sentiment or an image or something in there. And there I've got a card. Right? Easy peasy. So you don't have to use the entire stencil is what I'm saying. Stencils are very forgiving. They're very easy to use. And like I said, if you have stencils and you're not using them, go out and grab them. Grab them, just play with them. You might be surprised at what you can create. I know I've been using stencils for probably close to 15 to 20 years, and I'm still surprised at what I can create with them. It just never gets old. It never gets old for me. Okay, so that was a quick rundown on stencils and on masks, stencils, masks, and ink blending. Let's go back to these original ones way from the beginning. Where'd my other one go? Here it is. There we go. Just a quick little tutorial on stencils and to encourage you to get out, use your stencils, have fun with them, create, and just mostly just have fun. Let me just come back here. There I am. Hello, I'm back. So I want to thank you so much for joining me. I had fun tonight. This will be available. You can watch it on YouTube. It's going to be on our YouTube channel, but you can also watch it here on Facebook. But yeah, just have fun. And if you do create with some stencils and you want to share it, you can share it in the comments here, or you can share it over in our inspiration group. Now, next Monday night is March 7th, and that one's going to be a special one. Nancy B and I are going to tag team that one, and we're going to use the same products, and they're going to be from the new Ranger release that should be arriving. It actually arrived today in the store, the new Ranger, the new Tim Holtz, Diane, and Dina all arrived at the store today. And so she and I are each going to pick out a project, and we are going to create side by side next Monday night. And we're going to learn a little bit more about Nancy B. So that is happening on March 7th, which is next Monday. Have a great night, everyone. Bye. Thanks for joining me.